Colin Hurd is here, everyone. Yes, why isn't there a bigger response to that? And Christie Williamson, who came from Glasgow to join us. Oh, that's just a train trip, and I hear it's only 45 minutes. So you might as well just come from a nearby place. And it's not the same city, but anyway, you're here. It's good to see you. And Laynie Browne is here. And I'm Irene, Torra, Mohedano, who came all the way from Spain. That's so great. Maria Sledmere is here. Tessa Berring is here. Jane Goldman is here, who will no doubt stop the show somehow. I'm not sure how it'll be. Iain Morrison is with us. And Leanne Browne and Maria, where are we? I know we should say, because people will watch, they'll encounter this thing. It's a video about Helen Adam, who's born in Scotland, but spent, we all know her as an American poet who hung out with the Beats and others. But we are where?
We are on Calton Hill, standing in a nice spot of sunshine in the capital city of Edinburgh.
Fantastic. And way in the background, if anybody's able to see through us and beyond us, what is the body of water? Christie, what's
it's the Firth of Forth.
Firth of Forth.
So the Forth estuary, so the river Forth.
The Kingdom of Fife beyond it.
Firth, Forth. Yes, you guys really love the language, don't you? And beyond that is the North Sea, I believe.
Yeah, the North Sea is, so the horizon there is the North Sea. And on the other side of that is like, I don't know, Denmark or Sweden.
Norway.
No, I don't think so. No, I think we're.
I suppose if you're in Shetland and you go that way, it's Norway.
If we were in Shetland, it would be Norway on the other side.
Anyway,
but
the
we're
North Sea was the German Ocean until about 1910.
Well, they got rid of the name just in time for a couple of wars.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, we're here to talk about Helen Adam and a poem called Transformations, and then we have a surprise for all of us and anyone who's encountering this video later at the very end, which we won't spoil. Leanne Browne, will you perform Transformations for us?
I'd be glad to. Transformations. I am red the rose. I am silver the sea. I am blue the sky. I am green the grass. Names, names, fated to be for a little while and forever to pass. I am thorn the rose. I am drown the sea. I am storm the sky. I am graves the grass. Names, names, fated to be. I am love the moon, but I too must pass. I am black the sun in a heaven hidden, except from dreams that the great drugs keep. My heart's blood falls on a world forbidden. Beware, lost dreamers who dream so deep that you transcend sleep. I am out beyond, and my rays are shaken, universes and gods undone. Who dreams of me once, he shall not waken. Even to death, I am black the sun.
Colin, start us somewhere. Wait, I think we should appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yay!
It's good. Colin, start us anywhere. What are your impressions?
Sure, what an amazing reading, Leanne. That was beautiful, and I absolutely love the way in this poem that, the title obviously is Transformations, and we get tuned in right from the start to think about the shifting ways in which these names are being applied to the materials and kind of beings that they're being applied to. So, in the first stanza, it's mainly the sort of qualities to do with colours: red, silver, blue, and green. But then in the second stanza, it shifts to being something like a kind of dark imaginary of these kind of objects. So the thorn of the rose, or the drowning in the sea, and the storm in the sky, and the graves in the grass, and it almost sort of foreshadows that warning in that amazing stanza about the warning to the dreamers: beware, lost dreamers who dream so deep that you transcend sleep. It's almost like that shift between the first and the second stanzas is like a sort of dark whirlpool of associative dream logic.
Oh, wonderful. Who would like to comment on the I am? What does it do? Why accumulate such an identity?
Iain,
I'm so sorry.
No,
No.
it just came
you
to me.
You and then Iain.
I just thought it's like the riddles. It's like the Anglo-Saxon riddles. The what's it called? The
Yeah.
Exeter Book of
Exeter Book of
Riddles.
Riddles,
Like
yeah.
I am the key that
And
hangs
you have
at the
to guess
waist.
who I
yeah,
am.
yeah,
Yeah.
I am. Yeah.
I like that. Iain?
Yeah, and just the incantatory thing that it does. I mean, there's something spell-like about the poem, and I also feel I was thinking about Scottishness in a way, and about how this puts her in the same universe as someone like Ian Hamilton Finlay, and the sort of the concrete Scottish poets of just, what happens when you keep the same syntax but rearrange the elements as well, which you definitely get in the first two stanzas with the rose, sea, sky, grass, which are also, like I say, spell-like.
Jane, everything works out, though there's that reversal that Iain just talked about. Rose can be red, silver, sea can be silver, but eventually we get to I am black the sun. So she seems to be saying something extremely radical there about naming.
Well, it's the politics of photopry, isn't it? The idea that of photology, that the sun we don't associate with blackness, and the sun is the kind of primal solar kind of trope of subjectivity and enlightenment, and I am black the sun is this eclipsing
Yes.
line. And how appropriate, talking of poems reading us, today is the day of a solar eclipse, not visible from Edinburgh but from the Americas, an annular eclipse where indeed the sun is black. So there are these moments where the sun goes black, and capital B black. Yeah, so I think it's about eclipsing our metaphors of power relations, and the fact that for thousands of years, we've understood the sun as our kind of primary metaphor of being and metaphysics, subjectivity, and to blacken the sun isn't necessarily a terrible thing. It's when we get to see what's actually out there when the sun isn't.
Right. But I too must pass is a line. It's a line that's more or less quoted from other contexts. Who wants to deal with that one? Christie, I too must pass.
My father used to love to tell the story whenever anything bad was happening to anybody. He told this story from a biblical story. He's a minister of the church, so he doesn't restrict himself to biblical stories, but they're definitely a favourite. And he tells the story of this of a stone in the desert, and written on it are the words, "This too shall pass." So I can't help but hear that. But there is the passing. There is this impermanence that she's tapping into a lot. In those both of those two, I am love the moon, but I too must pass, and then again, for a little while and forever to pass. So the names pass, but also actually the thing itself, and the love passes. So it's.
Yeah, in the first two stanzas of the poem, and forever to pass, but I too must pass. So it's verging toward a refrain. So I think we should spend another minute on it and talk about connotations of past that might work beyond what Christie has just added. In another context, in another video, we talked a lot about past. Maria, do you want to add another connotation for past that might have anything to do with the poetics?
I guess pass is also like to do with presenting, so you can pass as someone you're not. But also I think of like pass in a kind of geographical sense, like a mountain pass or like a path. So there's a kind of to pass is a verb, but it's also a noun. Yeah.
Laynie, you really like Helen Adam, partly because she does ballads, she makes simple things complicated, she sings many of her songs, her poems. Can you talk about that quality of Helen Adam in this poem?
Well, I'm really interested in the eclipse and really interested in what Jane had to say, and I'm also thinking about her as a poet esoteric and occult and astrology and ancient mystic rituals and lunar as opposed to solar. And I think that all of that is there, and it's so interesting that we were speaking about our geography and what is beyond in the beginning of this video, because I feel like this poem is a lot about that, a lot about there's all the transformations that we see and know of names and times and, you know, seasons and ephemerality and mortality, but then there's also the ultimate transformation that is beyond, that is unknowable and outside of language, that the poem is alluding to, as well as the eclipse of perhaps her situation, right? Like outside, in exile, a woman who's really marginalized and didn't fit in any kind of a box, but made her own reality.
I ask our Scottish poetry friends, is Helen Adam thought of as a Scottish poet at all? We think of her as associated with the American beats. She was in New York and the Bay Area, San Francisco. But how many years was she in Scotland? Does anybody know?
She was like a teenager, late teenager?
Teenager.
She was like
and
very young
where
woman,
was
yeah.
she from? Do we know? Anybody?
Near Dundee, I think it was. Dundee,
I
yeah.
think she actually studied at Edinburgh University.
Yes,
Yeah.
both of those.
So does she have a standing here in Scotland? Is she part of the canon?
I think she. No, to be honest, I think I think there are lots of writers who are neglected in that way in Scotland. There's a kind of whole tradition of writers who, you know, and contemporary writers also. I think especially if they leave Scotland, they're often not thought of as Scottish writers.
I don't intend in this video to start a culture war because everything's been so friendly, but the thought is that, you know, maybe there's a feeling like, well, she left and she's doing her American beat thing, and maybe she's just not going to be part of the scene. I'm overreading that probably, yes? I'm just thinking about how you all think about what is a Scottish poem.
Yeah, I think that's there, but I think that the converse of that, and the healthy thing about certainly current Scottish poetics, is that anyone who's here can be Scottish now. You know, like, so Scotland is a place, especially this part of Scotland, that people pass through a lot.
As it were,
pass through. And I suppose that's kind of, because one of the things that troubled me about this poem was trying to work out how she keeps skirting around this question of blackness as a white woman, as well. This, you know, like, it's uncomfortable to read the line, but I too must pass so close to I am black.
Yeah,
The sun, I'm like, ooh, you know, like, don't go there. But then I found what Laynie was saying helpful in terms of thinking about migration that she experienced, and I hope there's a kind of generosity in the line that she's writing now. I think you wouldn't write that as a white poet so close without feeling you were maybe, you know, being awkward or something.
Starting with Tessa and then Irene, I would like us all to turn to the last stanza and end our conversation before our special surprise with a close reading of that last stanza, because the speaker seems to be clearer there, or at least want to be identified there. There's an I, there's a my. It's a little complicated. So, Tessa, maybe I'll ask Christie to read the last line in his best Helen Adam, and then Tessa and Irene will start on a close reading.
The whole last stanza?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I am out beyond. In my rays are shaken universes and gods undone. Who dreams of me once, he shall not waken, even to death. I am black, the sun.
Tessa, any thoughts to start?
I think it's all unravelled. The universes are shaken up, the gods are undone. And so it sort of kind of goes against the the names fated to be. Because it's now just everything it's all undone. I don't know, I'm feeling slightly out beyond. Is that, can I use that as an excuse to?
Yes, no, absolutely. Of course you can. My rays, so she's either moon or sun at this point.
Yes.
She's either the eclipsed sun or the moon. Irene, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, like what I found very interesting is like despite all the transformations, and as we were saying, like in this last stanza is the moon, is the sun, is the universe. There's something that remains, this I am. So yeah, it's like despite all these changes, and also thinking about what you just said about Helen Adams' transformation going to the States. There is all these maybe superficial transformation, but deep down I am, and I am out beyond.
The syntax is a little reversed, so it may be hard to see this, but when we get to who dreams of me once, whoever it is that dreams of me once, then gendered he, so it's not the speaker perhaps, he shall not waken. So this is a subject, an I, who is emitting rays, so it's sun-like, as opposed to before when this was a person kind of being shined on. And now we've got the I, the subject is ray-like, putting rays out, and there's a he who dreams of that. What do we do with that, Jane and Iain?
I was thinking about Revelations and the woman in the sun and the kind of biblical sense of apocalypse here, and to have a woman poet kind of claiming I am the whore of Babylon, if you like. There's a kind of mystic tradition of seeing the woman in the sun as a positive feminist mystical icon of reclaiming subjectivity and revelation. So to use these words, I am out beyond, in my rays are shaken universes and God's undone. It's the idea of undoing patriarchy, isn't it? And saying, yeah, I'm in that signifier and I'm not going to be considered to be on the wrong side of that binary.
Right.
I'm claiming that.
Yes, so it's a revolution.
It's a revolution, and it's a revolution of revelations, you know, then the revelations of St. John. Do you think that?
I'm not sure I'm thinking that, but there's a kind of reversal for me that I'm thinking about her ballads and things, and you know, with this sort of, like, often there's people dreaming of lost and departed lovers from the past, but here it's the person that's doing the dreaming that is the dead one, and she comes out of the context, beyond, and I'm seeing now in transformations, you know, there's like transform, there's kind of nations, you know, there's this moving, and I was just thinking again about like the first line, like, of course, if you want to locate yourself in Scotland, how else do you do it apart from invoking Burns? You know, my love is like a red, red rose, and then off she goes, and then she's out beyond, and those universes and gods are undone.
The Scottish reading! That's so great, and what's so really cool is that in that last stanza, the subject is the I, and the dreamer of the subject, the one who dreams and therefore makes poetic subject matter, is now rendered as an object of the shining. So and it's he, so that would be, I mean, to extend the reading, that would be me, the one who reads the poem, the he who reads the poem, who thinks that he is making the subject into an object of his dreaming, actually becomes the object of her shining a black sun, which is not shining. So that's the eclipsing that she's pulling off. This is pretty powerful shit, I think.
Oh yeah, to quote Colin Hurd, I radiate.
We're not going to do final thoughts for all around, but before we do our special surprise, I'd love to hear any other thoughts. I mean, Maria, we haven't heard from you in a little while. What are you thinking of Helen Adam? How familiar with you? Her are you? Is she going to enter your canon?
Yeah, I hope she does. In fact, it was used that introduced her to me. Like, I hadn't ever heard of her. So I don't know what that says about Scottish education. We need more. We need more Helen Adam. But I was interested in like the except from dreams that the great drugs keep, because drugs is probably the most, I don't know, modern word, like noun in the. So I was thinking, you know, is this a kind of is it in that kind of beat tradition of using uppers and downers to shape how you write, or and the kind of the way that in the last few stanzas there's more enjambment, so there's more kind of dreaminess to the way it falls between the lines. So kind of like the way it prepares you from that falling out beyond. But yeah, I don't know, it's something about like the way the poem is mediating states of consciousness. But I was also thinking about like Et al. Adnan's The Arab Apocalypse, because there's like a lot of poems about the sun that are like the red sun, the yellow sun, the blue sun, like, and they're kind of like pointillistic or something. The idea of like repeating the same noun but changing the colour, and thinking about pairs and associations that way. Yeah.
Well, thank you. So among the beats, Ginsberg was one, through Blake and others, who became very interested in the ballad. And people like Anne Waldman certainly have been influenced by that and other things. But Helen Adam, as I understand it, really was probably the greatest force in bringing the ballad into the beat aesthetic. And we have here, standing next to me, a great promoter of the idea that the ballad can be connected to radical experimental poetry, and that it could connect to occultism and all the kind of mystical Scottish stuff that Helen brought to American poetry scene, which was very rationalistic for so long, from modernism. You know, someone like William Carlos Williams was not exactly a mystical poet. And then when you get to this period, Helen Adam may be the main person responsible for bringing that back. Wow. So you have a little, I just did a little literary history. But so good. You have this thing you want us to do.
Yeah, I want this to be the first ever performance of the Helen Adam Scratch Choir, where in ballad singing, usually it's a solo voice, unaccompanied, but we are bringing it to the community, and I'm going to start the tune that we get from the tapes of Helen Adam doing this poem.
You do have a recording of this.
Yes, there's a recording.
Brilliant.
So it's not exactly her tune, it's sort of my interpretation, but it's pretty much her tune. And you're going to get it in your body. So that's a gloss with our body. It's an embodiment of the poem that will reveal itself as we sing. And the grass and the graves are going to come up from that last poem, are going to go wild. So let's, I'm going to start, and then y'all can just join in as you will. And it'll grow, okay? It's 14 stanzas. So, in a balladish sonnet, in a way. Not really. Okay. I love my love. I love my love. An epigraph by Robert Duncan. In the dark of the moon, the hair rules. There was a man who married a maid. She laughed as he led her home. The living fleece of her long bright hair she combed with a golden comb. He led her home through the barley fields where the saffron poppies grew. She combed and whispered, I love my love, her voice like a plaintive coo. Ha ha! Her voice like a plaintive coo. He lived alone with his chosen bride. At first their life was sweet. Sweet was the touch of her playful hair, binding his hands and feet. When first she murmured adoring words, her words did not appall. I love my love with a capital A. To my love I give my all. Ha ha! To my love I give my all. She served him with the secret web she wove as her strong hair grew. Like a golden spider she wove and sang, my love is tender and true. She combed her hair with a golden comb and shackled him to a tree. She shackled him close to the tree of life, my love I'll never set free. No, no, my love I'll never set free. Whenever he broke her golden bonds, he was held with the bonds of gold. Oh, cannot a man escape from love's hot smothering hold? He roared with fury, he broke his bones, he ran in the light of sun. Her soft hair rippled and trapped his feet as fast as his feet could run. Ha ha! As fast as his feet could run. He dug a grave and he dug it wide, he strangled her in her sleep. He strangled his love with a strand of hair, and there he buried her deep. He buried her deep where the sun was hid by a purple thunder cloud. Her helpless hair sprawled over her corpse in a pale resplendent shroud. Ha ha! A pale resplendent shroud.
morning and night of thunder, rain, and then it came to pass that the hair sprang up through the earth of the grave, and it grew like golden grass. It grew and glittered along her grave, alive in the light of the sun. Every hair had a plaintive voice, the voice of his lovely one. I love my love with a capital T, my love is tender and true. I love my love in the barley fields when the thunder cloud is blue. My body crumbles beneath the ground, but the hairs of my head will grow. I love my love with the hairs of my head, I'll never, never let go. Ha ha! I'll never, never let go. The hair sang soft and the hair sang high, singing of loves that drown, till he took his side by the light of the moon, and he sighed that singing hair down. Every hair let a lilting laugh and shrilled as the sighs that through. I love my love with a capital T, my love is tender and true. Ha ha! Tender, tender and true. All through the night he wept and prayed, but before the first bird woke, around the house in the barley fields drew the hair like billowing smoke. And her hair blew over the barley fields where the slothful poppies gave. All day long its voices cooed, my love can never escape. No, no, my love can never escape. Be still, you devilish hair, go back to the grave and sleep. Glide back to the grave and wrap her bones down where I buried her deep. I am a man who escaped from love, though love was my fate and doom. Can no man ever escape from love who breaks from a woman's womb? Over his house where the sun stood high, her hair was a dazzling storm, rolling, lashing the walls and roof, heavy, soft and warm. It thumped on the roof, it hissed and glowed over every window pane. The smell of the hair was in the house, it smelled like a lion's mane. Ha ha! It smelled like a lion's mane. Three times round the bed of her love, and his heart lurched with despair. In through the keyhole, elvish bite came creeping a single hair. Softly, softly stroked his lips, and his eyelids traced a sigh. I love my love with a capital Z, I mark him 0 and mine. Ha ha! I mark him 0 and mine. The hair rushed in, he struggled and tore, but whenever he tore a chest, I love my love with a capital Z, and the hair and source of rest. It swarmed upon him, it swaddled him fast, it muffled his every groan. Like a golden monster, it seized his flesh, and then it sought the bone. Ha ha! And then it sought the bone. It smothered his flesh and sought the bones until his bones were bare. There was no sound but the joyful hits of the sweet and sensual hair. I love my love, it laughed and sang, and back to the grave its home. Then the living fleas over her long bright hair. She combed with